Pep Guardiola doesn't make signings for no reason. Omar Marmoush, a player with speed.
Here we go with Marmoush. Oh, Marmoush.
Flair.
I would say especially him. Look at that.
And something City have been missing. Before Omar Marmoush stepped onto the Etihad pitch, before his big money move, his journey began in a completely different footballing world. Born in Egypt, Marmoush's raw talent stood out from a young age, earning him a move to Wolfsburg in Germany. He initially played for their reserve team, where he made 36 appearances and scored 11 goals. He ended up making his Bundesliga debut for the first team on May 26, 2020, in a 4-1 win over Bayer Leverkusen. But breaking into Europe's elite is never easy, especially for someone from Africa. He had to fight for his place, bouncing between loan spells at St. Pauli and Stuttgart. A very similar path to his fellow countryman Mohamed Salah, who had to go on loan across different clubs to show the world that he was an elite player. Now, Marmoush showed glimpses of how good he can be at both clubs. For St. Pauli, he played 21 games and scored 7 goals for the club. It was obvious that he had a lot of potential as a forward. The following season, he joined Stuttgart on loan for the 2021-2022 campaign. In his debut for the club, Marmoush scored a last-minute equalizer against Frankfurt, highlighting his knack for being able to score crucial goals at crucial moments. Throughout the season, he made 21 appearances and scored 3 goals, earning the Bundesliga Rookie of the Month award twice, once in September of 2021 and another time in March of 2022. Upon returning to Wolfsburg, Marmoush secured more playing time, this time participating in 36 matches across all competitions and getting 6 goals. His performances had caught the eyes of Frankfurt, and that's when everything changed. He joined the club and just hit the best run of form in the 2 years he was there. In his debut season, he scored 16 goals in 37 appearances across all competitions, including a very good performance like his brace in a 3-3 draw against Borussia Dortmund and a goal in a 5-1 win against Bayern Munich. He was performing against the best clubs that Germany had to offer. His tally of 12 Bundesliga goals that season made him the 3rd highest African goal scorer from the league. His pace, dribbling, and unpredictability made him one of the Bundesliga's most dangerous forwards. His second season was even better. He had more goals than his debut season despite only playing half the year at Frankfurt. But despite his solid performances, what made City go all in on him during a difficult season? Well, Marmoush, he isn't just a goal scorer, he's a versatile weapon, capable of playing on the left, leading the line, or even drifting inside to create space for others. This kind of flexibility is something that Pep has always loved about his attackers during his time at City. Let's look at some of the previous forwards that really succeeded under Pep. Gabriel Jesus was another player that offered versatility across the front line. Marmoush is similar in that he brings a more direct approach with his pace and dribbling skills, providing a different dimension to City's attack. How can we talk about versatility and not talk about Julian Alvarez, who was incredible as a second striker, on the wing, even in the number 10 role for Manchester City. Marmoush's style is very similar. He's arguably a better playmaker and can offer you the same level of goal scoring. Then of course you had Leroy Sané, who was incredible both on the left and the right wing. Marmoush is similar, given that he has incredible speed, loves to cut in, but he can play both on the left and on the right pretty comfortably. Marmoush's ability to operate as a winger, second striker, or even directly rotate with Erling Haaland provides Guardiola with some flexible attacking options. Like I've said before, look at him as an Egyptian Julian Alvarez. In his debut against Chelsea, Marmoush played as an inside forward off the left, contributing to a more direct style of play for City. Saw a lot of people praising his aesthetic style and saying he looks like a superstar. If you guys are sexually attracted to him, just say it. This is a safe space. Marmoush's pace and intensity is perfect for the way that Pep Guardiola wants his team to press, especially from the front. Guardiola has even spoken directly about Marmoush's defensive work rate, stating that he's intelligent at defending. He should be able to easily work with Haaland to press the opposition at the back to disrupt them from playing out. This is a big step in Marmoush's development. He now finds himself on the biggest stage alongside Erling Haaland. But can he actually thrive in this system? And more importantly, what does Marmoush's arrival mean for City when they're attacking? Because realistically on paper, the last thing City needed was another attacker. They already had some great wingers and surely they didn't spend that much money to get a player who was just going to be Haaland's backup. But from his debut, it was obvious what him and Haaland have in common and what Pep's plan is. You see, both Haaland and Marmoush are a real threat without the ball. And that's a great sight to see because a lot of the City players thrive with the ball at their feet. Bernardo Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Phil Foden, Jeremy Doku. They're at their best when they have the ball. The problem with having that many creators though is you end up in a situation where there's too many chefs in the kitchen. You need runners, players that can get in behind, players that can excel without the ball. Well, there are now 2 players on City who do that at a high level, and both came from the Bundesliga. From Marmoush's first match, it was obvious how direct he is. Had the City midfielders actually looked up, they would have seen him wide open in acres of space. Once they get used to his movement, City are going to be lethal because there are so many times where he's found the pocket of space and he's fast enough to beat any defender. Even Pep acknowledged that it's going to take some time for the players to understand the Egyptians' movement. This was Haaland to Marmoush when he made a run into open space and didn't get the pass. Right from the get-go, Marmoush had injected speed and optimism into an attack that had been looking stale at times. The Egyptian made 12 runs in behind Chelsea's defensive line on his first Premier League start, according to Skill Corner. You have to go back 8 months to find a City player who made that many amount of runs that wasn't Erling Haaland. Marmoush's natural positivity and his desire to get him behind at least gives Guardiola the option to try something new in the attack. Because like I said, sometimes City gets into this pattern of constantly playing the ball around right in front of the opposition, which makes it very easy to park the bus against. Marmoush was playing as one of the 2 number 10s in support of Haaland at the top against Chelsea, but we have also seen him play more centrally like a second striker right in behind Haaland in a 4-2-3-1. We saw the spaces his movement can create when one of his runs dragged Reece James away from the flank, which created an acre of space for Guardiola. Like, look at this space. This man could have put down a 10, some marshmallows. That's how much time he had. Even when Guardiola couldn't get up in support, Marmoush was relentless in attacking the space behind Chelsea's high line, constantly looking for the gap between Reece James and the center back. There was a moment where Kovacic tried to find Marmoush but overhit the pass. But take a look at Haaland's reaction. He was applauding the attempt as a way of motivating the City midfielders to keep looking for the 2 of them in behind. You see, besides maybe Savinho, Haaland was the only threat in behind before Marmoush's arrival.
Gundo, Kova, or Bernardo, especially Gundo, Kova, have a little bit more balls to Omar, to Marmoush and Erling, because the space was there behind, but didn't find him.
Well, other teams had figured this out and would just man-mark Haaland, knowing that the other players were just going to play with the ball in front of the back line. But now if you stick to Haaland too much, the Pharaoh will expose the space that will be left behind them. The only problem is how much risk are the City midfielders willing to take. But once again, here's another example of one of the many runs Marmoush made that were turned down by his new teammates. Brother was just doing cardio. But this shows you how resilient Marmoush is, because a lot of players would just stop making the run in behind if they weren't receiving the ball. But Marmoush doesn't operate like that. He will make the run because he knows that's the right thing to do for the team, and because he has such a desire to score goals. He knows that even if he makes 10 runs and you don't pass for 9 of them, all he needs is that one run to get the ball and put the ball in the back of the net. Marmoush's playmaking abilities and movement will also create additional space and opportunities for Haaland. Because Marmoush's movement attracts a lot of attention, so just naturally, the back line can't just be all focused on Haaland. Their combined strengths really complement each other well, and they can be a great duo, enhancing City's goal-scoring abilities, especially in those really high-stake matches. The Athletic had actually done a breakdown of Marmoush's runs at Frankfurt, and almost 1/3 of his off-ball movements were aimed at getting him behind. Meanwhile, runs ahead of the ball and to meet crosses into the box made up a further 42%. That's really good, because I know you've all seen that clip of Pep begging his players to get into the box, to get around the penalty spot so they can do cutbacks into easier finishes.
And now, we pass the ball and we take a look. When you pass the ball, you have to score those guys.
In the season before, only 4 Bundesliga players had made more attempts to break through the defensive line with their movements than Marmoush. Now, a part of this is that Frankfurt were a counter-attacking side. They were one of the most willing teams in Europe to find runners in behind. While Frankfurt ranks 4th in Europe's top 5 big leagues, City were down in 80th. This means that, just like Haaland before him, Marmoush is going to have to get used to the fact that he's going to make a lot of runs that aren't necessarily going to be found. But he still has to keep making them. The arrival of Marmoush, to me, seems like an indicator that Pep is looking to evolve. We could be seeing a shift to a riskier forward-running game than managing games with slower possession play. Look at the evidence. A fantastic opening 15 minutes against Everton, the Chelsea win, and the second half of the Club Brugge game, where Savinho was brought down on the left and Guardiola was given more freedom to push on, are the most convincing cases to date that City have a better chance of beating teams when they are more direct. City now have 2 monsters that can punish teams in behind. Maybe it's time to start using them. Now, the good thing about this City team is that Pep has a master plan for all the players, a blueprint that's been leaked on how he wants the City team to progress in the next 3 to 5 years. To see what that plan is, you gotta check out this video right here.